Well, I want to thank everyone today for chiming in on our first talk that we have with Cloud for Partners, one of our newest strategic partners that we are going to be working with. So I want to welcome Alyn Hughes. Alyn, welcome to this talk.
Yeah, brilliant to be here, Corey. You're really looking forward to this. I know that every time we always chat, it seems to run and run and run with different topics that we like to talk about and things. And there's a lot of exciting things going on in our world at the moment, especially with the SAP events. They're currently in the Far East, but we've got Phoenix to look forward to. We've got Madrid to look forward to in the EU as well. I think there's plenty for us to talk about and anticipate.
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a great conversation. This is something that we want to have. I think we're looking to do this something to schedule this, pretty regularly because there's just so much that's going on. And I think that, the synergies between both organizations, I think, are there. And, we can just talk about a lot of the different things, as you mentioned, with the upcoming SAP Summit is top of mind. That's going to be coming out at I think it's the second week of April, and then the second to last week of April with regards to Madrid. So between Phoenix and Madrid, something that definitely want to talk about. But I think there's some other things that we are also going to talk about that might be of interest to other people as well. So we're not just going to keep it, just to one subject area, but I think we're going to be talking in a variety of things, and I think it's going to be pretty interesting to be able to do that. So I'm looking forward to this conversation today to get things kick-started.
Absolutely, it's not all about what we do and what SAP do and all those sorts of things. It's there are generally great tool sets out there for us to use in business. It's also great to talk about what other people are doing and other people are doing well, because then if we the biggest form of flattery is to copy people, and if it's a good idea out there, do it. That's what I say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that for me, that one of the biggest things that everyone's talking about is all the stuff that's going on with AI, and it's one of the biggest things. And a lot of the organizations that are out there ask me the question I get asked a lot is, how can we make use of that? Is that something that we should be looking at? And it's a big conversation point. And we just also started to take advantage of some AI stuff inside of our organization that we've found to be extremely, extremely helpful. And one of those things is this software that we actually started making use of with regards to it's a software called Fathom. And I wanted to talk about you. I know, Alyn, you are also a big proponent of using it. And for us, it's really been a game changer. So we're just looking at it. And I remember about a year ago, we got introduced to it. We used a lot of stuff with regards to Zoom, and I know a lot of companies out there are using Zoom meetings ever since COVID. But we were using that pre-COVID. A lot of people use Teams, or they use different kind of scenarios. We actually use both. For us, we use internally we use Teams. Externally we use Zoom, just because for me personally, I just like the look and feel of it. Not a plug here for necessarily for Zoom, but at the end of the day, one of the add-ons that came on is this, like I said, this thing called Fathom. And I have to say, we were given this trial version very early on with regards to Fathom. And for us, really what it gave to me was a transcript of everything that was being said during a call. So I didn't really have to sit there and, and take notes, but I could be having this, this hour-long meeting. And the great thing is that I don't need to, sit there and take notes, but then I can look back and see what was said and so forth in regards to what transpired. And also I would have, if we were doing any sort of video presentations, or if we were doing any sort of, I don't know, sharing of information, it would do those screen captures, capture the video, capture all the conversations that were going on. But within the last, I would say, couple of months, it used, like I said, it started off as a free tool. I guess it's kind of to really get people started with it, which was a great way to kind of get people introduced to the solution. And then they started introducing the more of the AI component. And what I mean by that is the AI component that they added in was this executive summary of what took place, the key takeaways, the action items, the follow-up points, all in a, probably in a few paragraphs, for lack of a better word, that summarized everything that took place in an hour-long meeting. And for me, that was just, so compelling, not only for myself, but for people inside of my organization, that I was able to kind of read something, that could have been an hour and a half meeting. I could kind of get a lay of the land within a 3-minute read as to what took place. And if I wanted to get more detail, all I can do is just click on it and it'll take me to the exact same point inside of there. So tell me a little bit about what your experience has been with Alyn with regards to working with those sort of AI tools like Fathom.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's sort of Fathom was one of these things that I was recommended, so I thought I'd give it a go. And the personal version, as you say, is free, and it's pretty good, and it gets better with time. I think the AI component is actually learning and getting better in understanding what I'm saying and what my colleagues are saying, and the ability to actually concentrate on the meeting and not hand scribe notes or type them as you go is phenomenal. I've always personally been a brilliant note taker. I've been known for it and taking reams of notes when going out to see clients and that sort of thing. Having Fathom is a revelation. So I can concentrate on what's being discussed, giving the right advice and listening to what they're saying too. But that synopsis at the end of really addressing what the main topics were, who said them when, what the actions are at the end is just fantastic in the way it works. And I love the fact that when the meeting closes, the person who organizes the meeting is then able to immediately email all of the Fathom notes and recommendations and actions directly to everyone who attended the meeting. That's just fantastic, because otherwise, when you are hand scribing, you are ending up typing notes in and, oh no, I want to move that from there to here and that sort of thing. And you definitely get to the point where it takes about 2 hours to write up an hour's worth of meeting notes, whereas Fathom just completely, it's brilliant. If anyone hasn't tried it, please do. It's free. If you want the team version where you can share the one environment, as Corey says, that's really powerful. But the free version is still brilliant.
Yeah.
It's really, really helpful.
Yeah, that AI, again, we integrated, we use Salesforce inside of our organization. And what we do is we end up even, you know, um, loading that into our Salesforce so that, we can actually see exactly what transpired, but also to be able to share that information with customers or with partners in terms of what transpired and where things are at is, to me, is just, invaluable. It's become something that we use on a regular basis to the point where I think even when I have phone calls, I kind of wish that I was in a Fathom call, because I don't want to sit there and have to transcribe or anything, because then it takes more time for me to then do that. So it really becomes a time saving technique for myself.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I concur with that entirely. It's saved me an enormous amount of time, and everyone on our senior leadership team going to use it in all our morning meetings before we start the day. It's phenomenal. We agree what we're going to do. We all get a snapshot of exactly what we said and exactly what we've agreed to do. We know what our actions are. That's phenomenally powerful.
Yeah, we're even
And
using it for we're even using it for internal meetings ourselves at the end of the day. And then this way, we actually have, when you're using that Teams version, which is multiple people inside the organization, you can actually see and organize it by company, by partner, or what have you, and you can actually see that list of calls that you've had, and it even gives you a little bit of analytics in terms of who's talking and what percentage of time. And so it really becomes an invaluable kind of tool to then be able to kind of follow up and say, oh, you know what? When was that said? Oh, actually, it was said, and here it is. By the way, was brought up in the meeting. So for me, it's kind of, like I said, a game changer from that.
it's a great way of getting into AI if you haven't done it before as well, because it gives you a taster of what the art of the possible is.
Yeah.
With ChatGPT and all those sorts of things that are really taking off and being utilized more and more by individuals and businesses, it's a great way of getting into it if you haven't touched it before. And as I say, what have you got to lose? It's free of charge to try. You may as well try it. And from there, AI gets a little bit less scary, because a lot of people I talk to, everyone's talking about AI, and a lot of people don't really know what it can do for them.
Uh-huh.
And this is just a real taster of just what it can do.
Yeah.
And so from an perspective, I know from our partnership and from Cloud for Partners perspective, we're an AWS house. Top of the tree of developments for AWS this year is all around AI and how we
Yes.
can utilize it in sectors, certain industries, certain businesses. And it's all about working out which is going to be of use. Do you
Yes.
want to create AI bots? Do you want to create applications, those sorts of things using AI? Well, that's fine, but most people probably won't. They'll just want to use tool sets that will help them make their lives a little easier and get on with their job.
Yeah, we get a lot of, conversations around the topic of AI, and, I've spoken to customers and they'll be like, yeah, it's the hot thing, it's the hot topic. And, to me, it's just the next buzzword, that's been going around. And to be quite honest, for a lot of companies that we're talking to, it's it's not the right thing. It's just, you don't need to do it just because, it's the hottest thing or it's the latest thing and stuff like that. Because, there's some people that don't have the basics in play from a foundation. Us being in the analytics side of things or reporting side of things, they're talking to me about AI, and I'm like, you don't even have a solid foundation for your reporting environment. Like, don't even think about AI. It's like, that's too far, ahead. Maybe down the road, but I always tell people you need to be able to crawl before you walk, before you run. And, AI is, an area that could be helpful in certain areas, but not all areas. So it just needs to be taken with a grain of salt and look to see where there's business value, and don't just do it because you just want to hop on the bandwagon, that, oh, we've got to get into AI. No, let's get there's probably some other things that I like to refer to as low-hanging fruit that you can kind of go after, that's going to have a big impact on the business. And AI could, not saying it doesn't, but again, everything's got to be taken at the company's pace and where they are at in terms of an organization.
Yeah, and that would be my advice as well. Is if you are going to dabble your feet into the waters of AI, try some of the easier things to do before you actually get heavily into it, because you need to actually work out what's really going to be a good investment of your time and money. And a lot of people, that's across the board in industry. I was speaking to a manufacturer who wanted to talk to me all about AI in manufacturing. So, well, what are you looking to do? What are you looking to solve? Oh, I don't know. I've just been told I need this AI. Do a bit more research. That's got to be the order of the day. You've got to know and I'll have an idea of what you're trying to achieve for AI to see if it can help you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So which kind of leads me into, one of the other, topics that, I want to bring up, which is, with the upcoming SAP B1 Partner Summit that's coming up. I know there's one that I think it's recently going on or just passed with regards to the one in Singapore. There's the three of them that are going on with respect to what we have for Singapore, Phoenix, and Madrid. I know that both Cloud for Partners and NewIntelligence are going to be at the one for Phoenix coming up. It's in April. I think the exact date, if I'm not mistaken, is April the 10th is the first one, and then that's for Phoenix, and then we're going to have with regards to Madrid. I think it's 2 weeks later, which is, I think, starting on the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, for 3 days over there. So I'm really looking forward to those ones. There's a lot of key sessions that are going to be on there that I'm looking forward to seeing, given the fact that we are very focused on the analytics side of things and the reporting side. So some of the things that caught my eye in regards to some of the areas that I want to see is really around, how is SAP addressing analytics? How are they addressing AI from a SAP Business One perspective? So that's where I'm, really interested to hear the direction. And, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to looking in and watching at the upcoming summit in Phoenix and Madrid?
Well, that's always interesting. There's always nuggets of information that come out of these events, which are really powerful. Yeah, it's always taking out the ones that are real meaningful and actually going to deliver value early, and other ones that are for the next few years. So it's segmenting those, taking those apart. From a perspective of other things, it's always great to meet up with partners that we already deal with and new partners that we don't deal with, because it's all partner driven. So,
Yes.
it's from a reporting point of view, we talk often, as two organizations, we now work really closely together. So we value that. And we originally met at one of these events. So that's the sort of thing you can get at as a partner, is to actually meet each other and actually realize there's some synergy here. we aren't stepping on each other's feet. We can actually work together for the better of our customers. And that's really where I think I get the buzz from these events. Now,
Absolutely,
historically,
absolutely.
I ran the sales department of Ascarii, the other company associated with Cloud for Partners, where we were, well, still are, an SAP Gold Partner in our own right in the UK. So I always went there from a point of view, well, what is new? Not only from SAP, but from all the partners that are presenting in the exhibition there, and what's going to make the biggest difference to the customers that we deal with. Now I've changed role the end of last year into the Cloud for Partners side of the business. Now I'm really interested to find out what partners are actually thinking and what's making them tick. So from our perspective, I've met with AWS a couple of times this year already. Their two main focuses this year are AI, which is why we started off with AI earlier, and also SAP. They want to really hit the SAP market hard. And through Cloud for Partners, they already recognize us as we are leading the light for them and their recommended partner to go ahead with cloud hosting for SAP Business One. So we want to do that through the partner network. So that meeting the partners is really key.
Yeah,
But I think you actually did point out there were a few things that you wanted to see at the event, and they might not be just presentations; they might be the partners themselves. And I feel the same way.
100%. And I know that we, had met or met one of your colleagues, or we actually met in Panama last year. And for me going in, one of the things that was interesting for me was, talking to a lot of the partners, going around. Last year when we were there, we went as just as more as an attendee than as a sponsor, and walking around, talking to the different booths and seeing who's there. And for me, we were looking to work with a partner that was, in the cloud space, that was specifically for B1, that was going to allow us to, take our solution that we have, our quick start solution for SAP Business One on the reporting side and analytics, to be able to bring that, into a cloud environment. So, because, a lot of customers, we try to leverage their existing infrastructure, but at the end of the day, there's more and more people are now moving towards the cloud. And we wanted to make sure that, we were going to collaborate with a partner that not only understood the cloud, but also understood the SAP Business One market space. So, when I met you guys, in Panama, for me, it was kind of like, it was just so easy in regards to getting things started. The conversations flowed. And, I look at it as a win-win relationship. But as you mentioned, Alyn, going to these conferences, yes, there's the content that SAP puts out, but it's really the getting together in this kind of community, in this SAP community, this SAP partner community. It's almost like a close-knit family, for lack of a better word, where you get to see people on a yearly basis. And just, yes, it's a business setting, but it's also a time to be able to connect, to not only reconnect with colleagues that you've met in previous, but also new colleagues that you haven't had a chance to meet with or speak to, and get introduced and be able to put a face to the name, or rather than just having communications through emails or through sessions like Zoom sessions and so forth, really being able to sit down and, what I like to say is, go have a beer with somebody and just be able to kind of relax and take it in a more chill environment. I remember a colleague of mine said to me a long time ago, when I was looking at establishing partner ties with one of my distributors back in the day, a number of years ago. This goes back probably about 15 or so years ago. And we were debating between which distributor we were going to go with, and they said, well, at the end of the day, you want to be able to collaborate or work with someone where you feel that you can sit down and have a beer with them and be in a relaxed environment. And I truly, those are, for me, those were words to live by, because at the end of the day, yes, there's business, but at the end of the day, I want to be able to enjoy, I want to have fun at the same time in terms of what I'm doing. So for me, my selection process is not only are they competent, can they do what they're going to do? Because at the end of the day, they're going to be an extension of my organization, but also at the same time, I want to be able to, be able to rely on them, from not only just being able to have a cocktail with them or what have you, but, just, throughout the day, we might be connected through Teams or something like that. And hey, good morning, just, hey, how's it going? And just, not, it doesn't always have to be business. It has to be, there has to be some sort of personal relationship as well for there to be success. And for me, that's been, key for me in terms of, the selection process when I go through that.
No, I agree with that completely. It's always different when you go as well. Is the each event isn't the same, so you always learn more, and you also learn what didn't work in the past. What do we need to change? What do we need to tweak? What do we need to do differently? And that's the thing. Change is something that will never go away. We should embrace that. It's really a case of these events are a brilliant place for partners to really understand what other partners are about. And one of the nice things about the SAP Business One world is that most of the partners are willing to collaborate with each other. Other ERP vendors, and I won't name them, but other ERP vendors, they're at war on basis trying to steal each other's customers. One of the nice things about SAP Business One is that we're encouraged not to, and most of the partners do not do this. And that's a really nice feature.
Yes.
And I find that, well, it's a nicer place to be. And it's, this is what, how many years I've been in this channel now, getting towards 10 years now, and I really enjoy working with this channel far more. Excuse my teams going off in the background. You can never get away from tech. And for me, the events are going to be a great place to meet new people, but just as importantly, if not more, meet people we already know.
Absolutely.
Get to spend.
And I like the point that you touched on with regards to the collaboration between the partners. I know that, Cloud for Partners has their cloud solution that's supporting, SAP Business One customers that want to take, maybe their on-prem and put it into the cloud or what have you. For us, we have our analytics solution for reporting and dashboarding that allows, customers to be able to really start small from a reporting and not break the bank, what I like to say, in regards to going down that path. And really, from our perspective, I always say, to a potential customer or partner, more from a partner perspective, is that we don't do what you do and you don't do what we do. So there's really no worries for the most part where we're going to be stepping on each other's toes. At the end of the day, we want to be able to serve the SAP Business One community to making sure that those customers have the best solutions that are out there that are going to, give them what they need. We have a lot of times where we're speaking to customers and we would get commentary would be like, we always get the same comments is, where have you been all my life? Why aren't other organizations being able to provide us to you? Big joke we always get is, when is SAP going to acquire you? But that's, it's more from the perspective of we try to give that, from us is really giving that self-service capability to customers and, to be able to do things on their own without having to rely on third party. It really is what we're trying to do. And, working with C4P in regards to being able to extend our solution over into the cloud platform and make it easier so that customers, we can really truly go true turnkey, where it's not only are we, giving them software, we're giving them the solution to be able to do what they want to do, but also being able to provide that infrastructure. Because what we would do historically is we would say, okay, you want our solution, that's great. We're going to, first and foremost, we're going to try and leverage your infrastructure that you already have in play to, to limit the total cost of ownership to get started. But a lot of times customers don't have that infrastructure in play. So what we have to do is we have to tell them, oh, by the way, in order to run it, we're going to need this, this, and this. And then they would go out and source it. So the camaraderie that I like having with Cloud for Partners is the fact that not only can I tell them what they need, but I can actually say, here it is, this is the configuration. And by the way, we can do full turnkey with regards to that. And this is what you're looking at. So it's really a nice collaborative effort that we can kind of do from that perspective.
And it works both ways for us as well. It's, from our direct side of the business, we always wanted a really good reporting tool. Now, SAP have got reporting tools. but I still feel they're designed for other products in their range more than Business One. What we love about yours is that, one, it's based on Cognos, which is pretty much up there as one of the leading lights in BI for goodness knows how many years. So that's a no-brainer. But the very fact is that when we see a demonstration of your software, just how powerful it is and what the information you can get out of it, the decision making based upon it is quicker, more accurate, and saves an awful lot of money potentially. So it's anyone who hasn't seen one of Corey's demonstrations, you need to see one because they're really, from our perspective, the cloud hosting, cloud is the future. The hyperscaling computing that AWS provides means that it's highly scalable. It can change at the drop of a hat. Whereas, the dedicated data centers of the past, where you have bought-in tin and racks of servers in a could be a very professional air-conditioned room, it ultimately maintaining that they have to keep using it to the nth level to squeeze as much value out of it because they've bought the tin.
Yep.
That's not the case with AWS. It's just so scalable and highly secure. And I personally, I love the sustainability part of it. All the data centers we use are all 100% renewable energy already. So those sort of messages are nice, but they're also really useful when partners go out to speak to real live customers and prospects, simply because a lot more people are going to, if they're not already, be targeted on how green they are.
Yes.
What is their carbon? If they're not meeting those targets, they will get a fine. So having that sort of background is really important, and that's the sort of messaging we'll be talking about.
Yeah, no, it's key, and it's interesting to see how SAP is kind of going down that road. But you brought on a few interesting things in that conversation, and like I said, that's why I'm interested to see how SAP is going to be handling things with regards to analytics. I've been in this space now on the analytics side for almost 30 years. And the analytic solution that SAP has is not, it's not so new to the table. It's been around for a long time, from the days of business objects and so forth. But at the end of the day, the key is not just having the tools to be able to do what you want to do, but it's also to have the solutions that go along with it. And one of the compelling reasons why customers like working with our solution is because we hit the ground running. From a solution perspective, we have 30 subject areas that we cover inside of our solution already, and we're constantly growing that solution footprint. But again, customers can be up and running in less than 2 weeks in regards to being able to do things right from the get-go. So for us, it's kind of very big. So I'm really excited to see what SAP has in regards to their solution. I know I was just talking with a colleague the other day in regards to SAP Analytics Cloud, where, and again, this is what I heard, that there's a requirement to, or an expectation, I should say, to have a minimum of 25 users to get started with Analytics Cloud. And they're also looking at making it a requirement. I don't know if it's making it a requirement, but they're expecting to have multi-year deals with regards to Analytics Cloud. But for a lot of customers, first of all, 25 users might be considered a lot to get started. And to me, it's a lot of an investment, and you're getting the solution, but you're getting the software, but you're not necessarily getting all the solutions that kind of go with it. Then you've got to reinvent the wheel. You got to create stuff. So that's why we kind of said we don't put a limit in regards to what you want to start with. One user, no problem. So that's I'm very curious to see how SAP kind of handles that.
Well, exactly, and from a perspective of my previous role, where I was always responsible for and wanted to find new solutions to put into our kit bag, Analytics Cloud always to me was very good looking and did a good job, but just didn't fit the B1 world that well. It's even some of our bigger customers with over 100 users. You wouldn't need 25 people running a BI tool. You just wouldn't. This is where your strengths come in, and not having that limit is phenomenal. That's brilliant. So, it's and the other thing with BI as well, I think we've all heard the stories of people buying the software and the IT manager having it on the shelf and never installing it because it's just too much of a headache.
Yes.
Having something simple that's easy to get into and not being forced down a path of you must hit X and you must hit Y to qualify to use it is really powerful, which is why we
Yeah.
like working with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, for us, it's, the collaboration with partners is so important for us. And, the end of the day, we are going to be working with them in some way, shape, or form. Because again, we're not implementing SAP Business One. We don't implement it. We're not, putting their infrastructure, we're not playing around with their infrastructure. We're leveraging what they already have. And, we want to be able to collaborate in any way, shape, or form, because a lot of times, even when we're doing new things, because there's always new requests that kind of come out, because one of the epiphanies that a lot of customers have when working with our solution, it's kind of like, okay, I see you can do this. Does that mean you can do this, this, and that? And it always comes up, because the end of the day, when they go down this road of the solution, they're kind of like, oh, I didn't realize that it's going to give me this. I didn't realize the possibilities. And it really becomes, eye-opening for a lot of customers in terms of, where they can take things. And I'm assuming it's the same thing with regards to the cloud. When they start looking to move some of their old infrastructure up to the cloud, they might start with something very, or a little bit easier, that's more ready to kind of go to the cloud. But I'm sure it's the same kind of thing for you, Alyn, in terms of customers like, oh, I can do this. That now they say, can I bring these other things as well? So it's not an all or nothing thing. You can do things in a start small and then kind of build out as you see the business value. Talk to me about how that
Absolutely.
experience has been for you, Alyn.
No, absolutely right. And that's why we've got different product sets, starting from small, simple complexity businesses that don't need a lot of power and just need basically one and maybe one or two of the smaller, simpler add-ons that are approved by SAP. Then we've got in between, and then we've got full dedicated environments where it's specific to them, and the world's their oyster. They can do what they like, so they can run any type of software, and on top of Business One or alongside Business One, and really it'll just scale as they do. So they don't have to take one step off a cliff. They can take it in step by step by step, and the system grows. And the nice bit is that instead of buying tin that's going to cover for you for the next 3 to 5 years, whereas if you do that nowadays, you've got to buy tin that's well in advance of what you need in year 1, 2, and 3. Absolutely. So it's go down the SAP HANA route. You've got to start thinking, well, how many transactions? Let's put it through the calculator. This is telling me I need 256 gig, but I only need 64 at the moment. So you'll be paying for more than you need. It doesn't make sense. And the interesting thing for me is the vast majority of the world is still got to make that move to cloud, but the speed towards it is getting faster and faster and faster. And the objections, I don't know what it's like over in Canada or the US, but from the objections in the UK for many years, oh no, I prefer it on my warm server in my office, so I know where it is and I know it's safe. Well, modern day data centers, AWS, are far safer than anybody's office ever. Period.
Well, especially with all the things that are going on right now with regards to ransomware and getting their data hijacked and so forth, I think makes it even more compelling to being able to go to the cloud and being able to have proper backups. And if something happens, God forbid, at least you have the ability to kind of move it elsewhere in a very quick fashion.
It's one of the products we've developed in the last year, and it's called Disaster Recovery as a Service. So she presented about managing risk to a group of accountants yesterday over in the UK. I scared them witless but it's hard to scare accountants. It's really a case of, it's all very well having good backups and being secure with your backups, but if ransomware comes on and wipes out your Active Directory, and you have no access to your system whatsoever, and they say, pay me $1 million, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Whereas our DR as a service is a replicant of the live performance system, which is then put into standby mode. And should it happen, because we are running regular backups, we go back to one where they weren't involved, put it back on the new system, you're back up and running in 4 hours. That's a compelling argument for change. And you can't do that premise, and you can't do that with a lot of cloud solutions either. So it is worth pointing out that cloud isn't necessarily the same thing. You know,
Yeah,
it's
no.
that perspective, we always say it's another hosting provider.
Yeah, customers need to be, they need to look at it from a lot of different angles. That's why when we started, with our solution, we try to leverage as much as possible the infrastructure that the customer already had to limit the investment needed to get started. But eventually, what ends up happening is, they see the ROI very, very quickly in regards to the solution. And then they say, okay, now I need to kind of not just streamline or put things into the cloud with regards to our solution, but other things that are going on to make it just easier, whether it be for upgrades, whether it be for, maintenance, whatever the reason. There's a lot of different compelling reasons to, to move things to the cloud. So yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's very interesting. So like I said, I'm really looking forward to, the upcoming summits just to hear how SAP is going to address some of these topics with regards to cloud. I know they have the new SAP Business One Cloud edition, or not Cloud Edition, but the Public Cloud Edition. There's a lot of different things that I want to hear about, and I want to see how SAP addresses it, specifically with regards to their cloud solution, with regards to analytics, with regards to a whole bunch of variety of things in terms of what's going on. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, I don't know if you have any other closing points that you want to kind of talk about. But I think this has been a really, really good conversation.
Yeah, I think this is enjoyable to do, and also I think it's informative, and I think quite a lot of people could get something out of these conversations. I think the next one we should do is after the events. Let's see what we found out, and really start talking about what we've learned, and and hopefully everybody who watches these videos will actually start to understand we're not here to sell them anything. It's purely down to just making people aware of what the art of the possible is.
Exactly. Absolutely. So I want to thank you so much, Alyn, for this time today. I really enjoyed it. I think time just flew by in regards to, we just, talked about a whole variety of different topics, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm actually looking very much to seeing you up in Phoenix as well as in Madrid, and, and being able to, again, sit down and have a cocktail and just enjoy the time that, we can spend in person.
Very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate it. Take care.
Bye bye.